26-year-old Marilyn Stanley, enduring multiple surgeries, reports her ex orders his pit bull to attack, leaving the blonde beauty barely alive, then taking the knife himself and ripping over 80% of her scalp. Unleash the lawyers, Carissa Kranz. Do you know? He's had all these people, all these mugshots, all these bookends. Now he's literally scalped a woman, and they're considering lowering his bond.
Well, and Nancy, one thing I don't understand is, you know, he's the vicious animal. He's the one that is the vicious attacker, not the dog. And the dog's not going to ever get out. The dog's going to probably be euthanized, and he can't post bail.
Amazingly. And Alabama, 26-year-old Rebecca Henderson Polk goes missing. Her car found abandoned in a ditch. We go live with a frantic search for Rebecca. Good evening. I'm Nancy Grace. I want to thank you for being with us tonight. Bombshell tonight. Carissa Kranz, it's about 6 miles from the gas station to where her car found. Entirely possible somebody followed her.
Yeah, that's very possible that somebody followed her, and they should look into that missing evidence or fingerprints, any kind of fiber evidence.
You're right, Carissa. Live to Seattle, the deadly duck boat horror crash leaves 5 dead so far, dozens critically injured tonight. Focus on an axle repair that was ignored. Uh-oh. Unleash the lawyers. With me, Robert Mongaluzzi, Carissa Kranz joining me out of New York. Kirby Clements, what's your defense?
Well, several things. Number one, they're not ducking any regulations. The regulations weren't made to apply to them. The people who got on there assumed the risk. And there's nothing that suggests they did anything wrong.
Carissa Kranz, what's your defense? Are you going to echo what Kirby Clements just said?
No way. They might be able to duck criminal liability, but not civil liability. And as long as everyone's using the coined term duck here, that's just ridiculous because there's civil negligence here, and that's a totally different burden. And they known to check their vehicles that are this old. And
right.
No wonder a crash like this would happen.
A witness called 911 and let us know that one of our deputies had been shot. Multiple units arrived.
And my son is innocent. I was in the house with him.
Unfortunately, the deputy passed.
Tonight, the open assassination of a deputy. Unleash the lawyers, Carissa Kranz, Randy Kessler, Misty Maris. Well, because not only Carissa Kranz does she have to explain where they were, but then who planted that gun in the garage? What about that, Carissa?
Well, that's a very good question, how the gun got in the garage. That was registered to him, where the bullets from the gun actually were from that gun.
Let's stop. And live, White Pine, Tennessee, a small town in shock after reports an 11-year-old boy guns down an 8-year-old little girl with daddy's shotgun and a spat over the little girl's puppy. Alicia lawyers, Carissa Kranz, Robin Ficker, Robert Schock. Okay, Robin, give me your best defense.
He didn't know the gun was loaded. It was unlocked. He was playing. It went off accidentally. It was not directed at this child, as some would have us believe.
I totally
All right. Good try, Carissa.
I totally disagree. I mean, this young 11-year-old was taught how to hunt at 11 years older before, if you read about it. So this child was taught to have zero appreciation for human life or animal life, and he knew exactly what he was doing.
And Robert Schock. Breaking news tonight, live Charleston, South Carolina. A 21-year-old man, universally described as a quiet loner, enters Emmanuel AME Methodist Church in downtown Charleston, the jewel in the crown of AME Methodist churches across this country. Bombshell tonight, he sits quietly during an hour-long prayer meeting in the fellowship hall, then erupts in deadly violence, gunning down, murdering 9 innocent people. Unleash the lawyers, Carissa Kranz, Robert Schock, Jeff Gold. Yeah, but you know what, Carissa Kranz? That's the only place he's got to go, is some type of a mental defect.
I agree with you, Nancy. There's no way to look at this except for a hate crime based on the pictures and the comments and the evidence that's coming in. I mean, the underlying elements of a hate crime is a crime. It's targeted against a specific group of people, and the motivation is hate. You're talking about a young man that went into a house of God and gunned down an entire segment of people.
Carissa Kranz, yeah, drugs, that's not going to help. That's not a defense under our law.
I don't think there is a defense. There's nothing that can excuse this or justify this behavior. If someone goes into a church and kills an entire segment of people, I personally don't see how this couldn't be tried as an act of terrorism.
Breaking news tonight, live to Poconos, a teen boy literally hazed to death by fraternity brothers in the brutal glass ceiling so-called game. Bombshell tonight. We obtained secret grand jury documents, the horrifying details of Michael's death, and tonight, the cover-up. Unleash Your Lawyer is joining me tonight. Carissa Kranz, former prosecutor out of Miami. Misty Maris, defense lawyer, New York. Yale Galanter, famed attorney for O.J. Simpson, joining me out of Miami. So to you, Yale Galanter, I understand that you oppose all of these people standing around doing nothing being indicted. So what's your possible defense, your best defense? I mean, if you can defend O.J. Simpson, what's your defense here?
Well, Nancy, first of all, murders are not group crimes. And as horrible as this crime is, you've got to look at the individual facts against individual defendants, because the prosecution is not going to get a conviction against 35 or 40 people.
Carissa Kranz, weigh in.
I think that the only way to figure out who's guilty and who's not is to charge all of them so they start turning each other in and start flipping witnesses. And then we can work out a certain deal with the ones that aren't as guilty as the others.
Yale Galanter, you know it as well as I do. You put 37 co-defendants in there. They're all going to try to blame each other, and that's the only way the full truth is going to come out. I mean, people, didn't you read these findings in order? Live, Concord, New Hampshire. In the last hours, a young teen girl victim breaks down in tears on the stand.
Allegations that he raped her at the elite prep school where they were both students.
We believe that the suspect actively pursued the victim
with a plan that he was going to have sex with her.
As part of a decades-old tradition at St. Paul's, known as the Senior Salute.
Unleash Your Lawyers, Carissa Kranz, Miami, Robin Ficker, Washington, D.C. Carissa Kranz, his DNA is on her underwear. That's some contact, all right.
Yes, that's some contact. And also, she went to the school nurse asking for contraception, so she's clearly concerned about being pregnant after the alleged rape.
Breaking news tonight, live Vermont suburbs. Bombshell tonight. The mom who loses custody of her daughter laughing when she shoots dead the social worker. Tonight, mommy charged with murder. Unleash the Lawyers, joining me, Ariva Martin, Yale Galanter, and Carissa Kranz. Carissa Kranz, so what you're hearing from Ariva Martin is she's turning the tables and trying to make what appears to be a mass shooter, even though she looks like soccer mom, the victim, claiming she's got a drug problem. She's got a alcohol problem, seems the big culprit. Voluntary use of drugs or alcohol is not a defense.
That's correct, Nancy. Voluntary intoxication is not a defense. And an insanity defense, in my opinion, is a red herring defense. Jodi Herring knew exactly what she was doing. She had a rap sheet of 10 prior convictions, and she went and intentionally laid in wait to kill the woman
laughed. She laughed.